Welcome to Starts with CP, everyone. On a Monday morning, we thought it was going to be Tuesday morning, but we decided to record perfectly on time. And by the time you guys hear this, it will be Tuesday morning or maybe Monday morning, depending on when Danielle drops this. But today we're going to talk about um, one, how to be calm with the election. Yes. And then the subtitle is how to support people with disabilities and mainly support their content creation with a disability. So, okay, we have this monkey business election coming up. And number one, don't start blaming, don't start picking sides on November 3rd, you guys, because what I've learned over the past 5 weeks due to I was in American government class for my journalism degree, which yes, journalism and American government go hand in hand, and so what I was thinking is, and I didn't know this, I didn't know that it was the electoral college that does the picking of picking of the president. We actually vote vote for the president, but then we send it off to the electoral college. And depending on how big your state is, that's how many representatives you have that have to do with the electoral college. And California, my biggest listenership comes out of California. I believe you guys have at least 30 representatives. Um, and someone correct me if I'm wrong now, but Colorado has 10 or 20. I don't know. I know we have a smaller number than California, but please, 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 for the love of God, stop blaming the Electoral College. Stop it right now, because whoever wins is going to win, and the sun will be shining on November 3rd. And so please stop. I know you voted. I know you all, including me and Danielle, want the big red guy out of the White House. I know that. We don't go into that. But we need to be respectful of political views and religious views and economic views and everything else. We need to start being respectful of each other. Number two, do not stay up till midnight like I did in 2016 and watch the final results, because I don't know if you guys remember what happened in 2000. What happened in 2000 is we had the Chad scandal, whereupon the votes weren't counted, and whereupon we didn't have a president until December. President Bush didn't come into office until December. So I know that you guys want to see the presidential election as it happens, but I would say get sleep and worry about it in the morning. And then try and stay away from political news that day. You can always go back to political news. I personally am going to stick my headphones in my ear, not listen to political podcasts. I'll be primarily listening to music and primarily listening to anything but political podcast, but because I don't want to be overwhelmed with sadness, and don't run out the door as soon as you find literally run out the door as soon as you find out the political candidate. Just be calm, be calm, be calm, and be smart because we're still in a pandemic. So if you literally run out the door, you forget your mask. And so, yeah, so don't run out the door.
Yeah.
We're still, there he is laughing at me from my last comment, but there goes my dry sense of humor. So, we're still in a pandemic. We're still dealing with that. And so people are a little bit edgy right now, and edginess is a word of the week, and I apologize for that coughing attack. I didn't have time to quick mute my mic. But edginess is the word for the week, and just be calm. Now, because of that, my political soapbox is over, and unless Danielle wants to add anything to my political soapbox, back me up.
uh, uh, the, you, uh, the, the, the same.
Okay, so she's going to do the same. She's not going to run out the door. She's not going to blame the Electoral College. She's definitely not going to blame the Republicans. And yeah, so she's going to do the same. So Danielle and I won't necessarily find out unless we want to find out by clicking on whatever we click on Newswatch. Now, that leads me to my next thing. Please support the disabled content creators. I know that there's a bunch of us out there, including Danielle and I. Maxwell Ivy is one with what's your excuse? That's the little name of his podcast. I've been on his podcast. Juan Carlos Gil of JC Productions is another one. And for those of you that want more information on these two fine young guys, well, they're not young. Juan is not young. Juan is actually in his 40s. Max is Max has a really interesting story because not only is he blind, he did circus um, routes with his family throughout the 90s. And that was a really interesting story because back in the 60s, um, back in the 60s, and my dad still has this, my dad had this connotation, and he still had it up until the day he died. And yeah, and I will spill the beans a little bit on Danielle. I'm like, okay, dude, you got to get out of your head because he because um the disabled was known as freak shows back in the 60s as carnivals. He thought that my dad, and I should have introduced him to Maxwell Ivy. I've I should have introduced my dad to Maxwell Ivy and made him listen to Maxwell Ivy's podcast because Maxwell Ivy mentioned this. He did carnivals with his parents. Max did in the 90s. And so my dad still thinks that if you put a disabled person in a precarious position like a clown, thank you very much, Danielle, he would consider you being a member of the Freak Show. And I'm like, dude, this is my BFF. And I'm like, dude, like, dude, I love you. I love you, but you got to get that connotation out of your head. I love you, but you got to get that connotation out of your head. No, no, he had that connotation for years, and I'm like, dude, I love you. You're talking about my BFF. Now knock it off. That is so. Oh, I love him. I love my dad dearly. I love him dearly, but he just didn't understand that because he grew up in the World War II generation. He grew up as a baby boomer generation. And so he didn't understand that the disabled have more power than he thought they did. And a lot of the people don't. And so when people say the disabled are part of a freak show, you're getting that connotation from the 60s. I know you are. And if you talk to Maxwell Ivy, who did a lot of circuses in the 90s with his family, him being blind, he'll tell you a totally different story than I just told you. And so let's get the connotation of the freak show, of the bearded lady freak show out of this universe. Drives me nuts. Drives me absolutely bananas that my dad, and this is and when I came I didn't come out to my dad. I didn't come out to my dad. My dad asked me once, and this is how scared of the gays he was. He just didn't like the gays, and so I couldn't come out to my dad. I came out to my stepmom after my dad died, and my stepmom loves me for who I am, and basically said, "Okay, next we have a bigger fish to fry." Her response is, my response is, "Mom, I'm gay." And she goes, "You are?" And she goes, "I love you." And next. And when and my dad asked me, he asked me once, he said, "When are you gay?" And I said no. I literally told him no because he hated the gays. He hated the gays. And as I said, he thought that disabled whatever job they have, he thought, well, if they're clowns, they're part of freak shows from the 60s. And I'm like, dude, you're talking about my BFF. My BFF is brown. My BFF loves the job and knocked it off because so many people have that connotation of that people with disabilities should be locked in their houses and put away and not be seen out in public. So, okay. So you guys need to subscribe to any disabled person's work on the internet, including Swords with CP, aka Ask Win, including the artwork of CP, including the amazing voices of teachers, which is not defunct. Thank you very much. I just had to put it on hold just for a little bit until I get to a better spot in my life, which is coming, you guys. And so this is how you support. You like, you review, you love on the disabled population. You love on Maxwell Ivy. You love on Juan Carlos Gill. You love on Danielle Coulter. You love on the Jones. That is my soapbox for that. And Danielle, do you want to? And yes, you leave reviews for our books and buy our books because were passing along the information to you about cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
And Danielle, do you want to add anything else?
Please read. No, we, we, yeah, they are not in.
Oh, Danielle, ugh. I that she came up with no prompting for me. Okay, what she said. Please read all stories because they are amazing, and I hope that they teach the next generation on how to be respectful. And please, 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 for the love of God, don't, don't pull into a handicapped spot if you're not handicapped. Oh, please, please. I'll I'll ask a friend of mine. I'll ask a friend of mine next weekend if I can share her story. Uh, and I have shared this story on the previous podcast, but I'll ask her if I can share put names to it and this person knows now knows not to do it. She did it once. She um she did it once and she did it once and once was enough for her because she uh, she did it once and then had to literally go pay a fine and she was working for me at the time, and she I love her dearly, and she said to my dad and "I I did something. Could I take the day off of work?" And we're like, "Okay, what did you do, first of all?" And she looked at us like okay, do I tell my new employer this is before my dad died, and this is before we came really close friends too. And so she's like, "Do I tell my new employer what I did?" Because of Wynn's disability. And she looks at me and I'll never forget it. And she knows I tease her to this day about it. And so um she looked at me and said, "I pulled into a handicapped spot. Now I have to pay the fine." And I'm like, she was so embarrassed. She was so embarrassed about that. Oh, and she knows now not to do it. Not she knows to stay away from those handicapped spots. But if you ever have to go pay the fine, and they charge you $100 too, and they give you a parking ticket too. And so if you guys ever have to go pay the fine, try and not do that, you guys, because that doesn't that doesn't just sit well with me. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. And now everyone understands why, because since my dad died, they understand why. And trust me, my dad kept me sheltered just a little bit. And so everyone is so respectful of those handicap spots. It's not even funny. But please, 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 please inch over out of the handicap spot and please just do just do what you can to support those with disabilities. Just do what you can. And I am actually bringing on a disabled website designer who specifically focuses on disabilities and website design. And I think she's able-bodied as well. but we'll figure out his story when he comes on. And so please, just be respectful of those and open doors for people with disabilities. Lily, open doors, please, so we don't have to be struggling. Please, just open doors and please be kind to people with disabilities. That is my soapbox. And please just support us with disabilities. And please subscribe to Ask Win. And please just follow Ask Win and follow Danielle. For those of you who are listening to this podcast and don't follow Danielle, Danielle's content creator in her own right. And please just be kind to those with disabilities. They're going through a hard time right now. We're all going through a hard time. I get that. But please just be extra kind to people with disabilities, whether it's bad back, cerebral palsy, blindness, alopecia areata, um, fibromyalgia, lung cancer. Lung cancer, please be kind to those with lung cancer because lung cancer will kill you. I know that firsthand. And please just be kind. And that is my soapbox for today. And so we covered how to be kind in the election and kind and calm, and then how to be supportive of those with disabilities. And yeah, that is my soapbox for today. And we will catch you guys later. As I said, Danielle, do you want to give us the update? Do you have update on how much content we have coming out?
We are, eh, we are, now, eh, uh, the lie.
Okay. And this July, end of July now. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be at my new house. I'll be at my new house by July. So I can probably get myself I no, it's only gonna take me if we start I'll start the beginning of March. I'll start packing everything up the beginning of March, probably the middle of February, and I'll start packing everything up, and I'll start packing up this office, and there'll be stuff I'll leave here, and there'll be stuff that will go with me. But my podcast mic will definitely, my podcast mic, if it doesn't get broken in the process, um, I might, I might just buy myself a new podcast mic. I might just ask you guys to get me a new podcast mic um, because it's squished behind the desk right now, and it's clamped to this desk, and in order for me to move it, um my podcast might be going with this desk, which this desk is staying here. So my podcast mic may be going in a garbage can, and because it's clamped to a desk right now, and I don't know. I'm looking at it right now at the way we called this, and I don't know if it was originally clamped to the desk and it stayed there for 10 years. So I don't know if we move the piece of the desk out and unclamp it, or I'll figure it out. But I may just buy myself a new podcast mic just to make it easy on myself. And so I may just buy myself a new podcast mic, or put that out in the universe and throw this $500 podcast mic out the door because it's clamped to a desk. And if it was, if the desk was easier to move, I would move it. But we'll see what happens. And so I just by the time July hits, I should be in my new office, and my office was a door, as I said. And so I will, but all you guys won't miss a beat. Please tell your friends and family to subscribe to us when to figure out the to find the amazing content, and you guys don't have to listen to the whole thing. And we should we should teach how to subscribe to a podcast after we do the meeting of the minds story. And then we're going to do how to support a podcaster and how to support a teacher at Christmas time. So it's going to be meeting of minds next week, and then how it's going to be how to subscribe to a podcast the week after that, and we'll do the audio version of that. And then it's going to be how to support podcasters and teachers during the holiday season, because teachers deserve a medal in my book. And yeah, so I need to sort my own profession, and I can't sort my own profession out the door quite yet. And so it's gonna be that. And so we'll catch you guys later. Bye, you guys. Thank you for following us. Danielle, do you want to say thank you for following us?
Yeah. No. No. Uh, uh,
Thank you guys. And we'll do meeting of the minds next week, and then how to support podcasters and all that good stuff, and how to subscribe to an episode after the meeting of the minds. And then once January hits, we'll probably do 2021 New Year's Day stuff, and then we'll probably pre-record that, and then I want to explain to you guys why I have transferred AIDS again, which that was a long story in itself. I'm still working on that, and then I want to give you guys a life update in between, maybe before we do. It's gonna be definitely before we do how to support um, podcasters and teachers and people in general at Christmas time. And yes, I said Christmas. And so let's do this, you guys. Let's end 2020 strong. And that's my soapbox for today. And I will catch you guys later this week. Bye, you guys.
bye.